Tons of prospect debuts this weekend. Nolan Schanuel for the A's, Noelvi Marte for the Reds, Masyn Winn for the Cardinals, and tonight, Kyle Harrison for the Giants. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On MLB Prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to Locked On MLB Prospects, your home for all things minor league baseball. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, freelance baseball writer and podcaster. Thank you for making this your first listen. Every single day, we're probably part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And today's episode is made possible by our friends at Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free white tech hat with any order. You will not want to take your Bird Dogs off, I promise you. So lots of top prospects debuted over the weekend, and lots is a relative term. Opening day is obviously where you see the most, but we passed the milestone last week where it's a lot harder for a prospect to lose rookie eligibility. So to recap how that works is there's two different ways with which you can lose rookie eligibility. The first one is on-field performance, 130 at-bats for a hitter or 50 innings pitched for a pitcher. The other option is 45 days on a 26-man roster. Once you click over to 46 days, you lose rookie eligibility. We passed the date, so as long as you watch a player's workload, they will still be rookie eligible next year for the Rookie of the Year race and the prospect promotion incentive. So we've seen a lot of prospects get called up, and some of them were rather surprising. Nolan Schanuel was drafted by the Angels, pick number 11, 6 weeks ago, and he played in Major League Baseball this weekend. Nolan Schanuel started for the Los Angeles Angels over the weekend at first base. 3 of 12, he's got 3 hits, 4 runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. And I think it was either Friday or Saturday's game where he works a walk in the first inning, batting in front of Shohei Ohtani. He works a walk, and then Shohei Ohtani hits a grand slam. And it's okay. It's very early for him to be in the bigs, but he doesn't look completely overwhelmed. In the long run, is he ready for Major League Baseball? Probably on a full season basis, probably not. But the games I watched over the weekend, he was able to hold his own. He was not able to play on Monday. Neither were the Reds because of the effects of Hurricane Hillary coming through California. We hope everybody that's been impacted by that is okay. We need to have our thoughts and all of that. But Nolan Schanuel didn't look bad. Noelvi Marte was called up by the Cincinnati Reds. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I didn't know, would he be a piece at the major league level, or would he end up being a trade candidate? And they called him up. The first game he was in, they're trailing. Joey Votto gets on base. They pinch run Noelvi Marte for Joey Votto. Apparently the conversation in the dugout was, how fast is Noelvi? Well, we don't know, but he's probably faster than Joey. So he gets on base. He steals a bag in the 9th inning in a game with they are losing. You love the aggressiveness there. Then the next day, he starts at third base, goes 1 for 4, hits a double, strikes out once. Again, very small sample, but does not look overwhelmed at the major league level. And the next game they play, which I believe they have a doubleheader scheduled for today, you could see an infield made up entirely of guys that were called up this year between Ellie De La Cruz, Matt McClain, Noelvi Marte, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Spencer Steer in like left field or something. You could see an entire infield of guys that were not on this roster when the season started. Absolutely wild there. Masyn Winn of the shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals plays in 3 games over the weekend, goes 3 for 11, 3 strikeouts, no walks, doesn't score a run. But rather famously, his very first base hit was thrown into the stands by Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso said it was a brain fart. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't paying attention. But it was a really weird situation. I've never seen an infielder throw a ball into the stands in the middle of an inning. I've seen it at the end of an inning as they're jogging back to the dugout. And okay, correction. I've seen an infielder do it not at the end of an inning when they catch a ball right by the fence or right by the net or something and they toss it over the net to somebody. I've never seen a player throw a ball from the grass of the infield halfway up the first section of seats when there's less than 3 outs in the inning. I have no idea why Pete Alonso did it. Masyn Winn did get the ball back. The Cardinals were able to get the ball back. Thank goodness they were in St. Louis. So they did get the ball back. And apparently Pete Alonso sent over a bottle of alcohol, which Winn just turned 21. Sent over a bottle of alcohol and a signed bat with a note of apology. So thanks for that. But just a weird scenario. And then Tuesday, we will see the debut today of Kyle Harrison with the San Francisco Giants. Number 1 left-handed pitching prospect in baseball, according to all the top 100 lists, whether it's MLB Pipeline, whether it's Baseball America. Everybody has Kyle Harrison as the number 1 guy. 20 starts this year in AAA, and he was a 2020 third rounder out of high school. But 1-3, 4.66 ERA, and 65 2/3 innings for Kyle Harrison. 105 strikeouts, so 14.4 per 9, to 48 walks, 6.6 per 9. If that sounds like a lot, it's because it is. Kyle Harrison has a hamstring strain in early July, misses some time. He comes back, he gets 1 appearance in rookie ball, and then they send him back to AAA. He makes 3 starts in AAA. In those 3 starts, 3.86 ERA and 9 1/3 innings, 13 strikeouts to 4 walks. So he's going to go up to the bigs to be with all of the other pitchers that San Francisco has, because San Francisco doesn't just have a starter, right? Like they have 2 guys in their starting rotation consistently in Logan Webb and Alex Cobb. And outside of that, they just have a group of pitchers who throw bulk innings, right? Sometimes they piggyback, sometimes they're an opener, sometimes they're a bulk guy after an opener, and it's like Sean Manaea, Alex Wood, Jacob Junis, Ross Stripling, and then Stripling went on the IL, so that's what made the opening for Harrison to come up. Now, I think Harrison's going to be used in a similar way to those guys, and that's not necessarily because San Francisco thinks that is the best way to win a game, but because that's how they've used him in the minors. So again, I mentioned 20 games this year for Kyle Harrison in the minors. He's only thrown 5 full innings 1 time. He's only broken 80 pitches 1 time. And so that was 83, and that was in late June, and then he got hurt and had to leave the next start. And so because of that, it really feels like he's going to be on a limited pitch count, and he's going to be one of those piggybacks or a bulk guy after an opener versus getting an official start. He may be the first guy, but either way, he's not going to be in there a super long time. Now, the stuff itself that he throws, the stuff is good. So in AAA this year, Kyle Harrison, 32.8% CSW. Reminder, we're shooting for 28 to 30% there on called strikes plus whiffs. And then swinging strike percentage of 13.7%. He throws a fastball. He throws a sweeper. His changeup has gotten better. And so he's got a really good 3-pitch arsenal with really good velocity for a left-handed pitcher. The fastball can touch 97 and gets tons of swing and miss. Now, the StatCast dashboard for AAA, the one that I use, has more pitches listed than just the fastball, the changeup, and the sweeper, which it lists as a slider on there. It also has a slurve, which is the slider curve mold kind of thing there. He's thrown 80 times. This is out of 1,250 pitches. They have a sinker. He's thrown 70 times, which that's sure. A lot of pitchers who throw a 4-seam also have a sinker. They just may or may not use it. And then he's only thrown the changeup 62 times. So it has gotten better, but he doesn't use it as much maybe as you would expect. He's still predominantly fastball slider, right? 58% fastball, 25% slider. So you're going to have to watch the walks. You're going to have to be careful about that. And a lot of it is the fastball. He's a little wild with the fastball. The fastball is the only pitch he can throw for a strike even half of the time. Everything else is 35 to 40 to 43% of the time fastball. So that's where some of the walks come from. A lot of his game is predicated around swing and miss on the fastball and then chase on the slider or swing and miss when you're sitting on that 4-seam fastball, him throwing a 2-seam fastball at you or throwing a sinker at you. Curious to see how he does. Philadelphia is not an easy team to debut against. We'll see what happens here. But either way, excited to see what Kyle Harrison does for his debut on Tuesday. In just a minute, let's talk about some of the prospect promotions that happened. A lot of top talent moved to AA. We'll get to that next right here on Locked On MLB Prospects. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Bird Dogs. I have never had a pair of shorts that made me look this good while also being really comfortable until I got a pair of Bird Dogs. So they make you look good. They are stretch khaki shorts designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and the leg to give you a truly sculpted look. They fit like an absolute dream. They invented this cloud knit fabric. Looks just like khaki, but it stretches, so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. And they've got this anti-stink and sweat-wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. You can go from the couch to the golf course to a night out, all in the same pair of Bird Dogs. They have shorts, they have pants, they have joggers, whatever you might need. The most comfortable pair of shorts I have ever owned. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB and enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free white tech hat with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or promo code LockedOnMLB for a free white tech hat. You will not want to take your Bird Dogs off, I promise. Welcome back into Locked On MLB Prospects, and we've seen a lot of top talent get to AA over the weekend and the beginning of this week. And this is that time of the year where you're now counting down. Some minor leagues have as little as a month left before the season is over. So this is the time to bump a guy up a level, give him a taste of the next level, see if he struggles or not so that you can identify what he needs to work on over the winter, whether he's playing in the Arizona Fall League, whether he's going to be, say he's international player going to back home to go play in a winter league down there, whatever he may be doing. The Padres, two guys from the very top of this year's draft, Dylan Cruz and Paul Skenes, have both been promoted to AA. Now, Paul Skenes has not really had an opportunity to pitch a lot. He's thrown 3 times now. He threw an inning for the Complex League Pirates. We talked about that. 1 strikeout. He literally threw like 11 pitches. He's thrown now twice for a single-A Bradenton for the Marauders. He faced the Tigers both times. First time, 1 inning, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. Second time was 2 innings, no hits, 2 strikeouts. They're skipping high A. He's going straight to AA. Outfielder Dylan Cruz is also going straight to AA. 15 games for him combined between all the levels. 385, 446, 677, 5 home runs, 9 extra base hits, 6 walks to 19 strikeouts, and 1 for 4 on stolen bases. The strikeout number, the 19 strikeouts in 15 games, and the stolen base number, 1 for 4. That is why they are pushing him to AA. They want him to adjust to professional pitching and professional pitchers, guys who actually have a game plan on how to bait you into trying to run or have a good pickoff move, guys who have more control and better looking pitches so that you can learn and adjust to what major league pitching looks like. So that is why Paul Skenes is going to AA. Catcher Ethan Salas of the Padres is getting moved to AA. And I caught a little bit of flack. Somebody asked me why he was leaving high A when he hadn't necessarily had great stats. And he went in his 9 games in high A, he went 7 of 35 with 2 walks and 10 strikeouts, 3 runs, 3 RBIs, a double. And when I said he's not really being challenged, the pitching is not good enough in high A consistently for a player the caliber of Ethan Salas to actually work on not just ball versus strike, but that second level of pitch recognition, that strike versus drivable pitch. What can I do with this? He needs to face better pitching so that he can be challenged offensively. Because in high A, a lot of these players are not necessarily going to be major leaguers. You don't consistently see the control, the command, the stuff for him to get better as a hitter. You may see it on day 2 of a series, and then you don't see it again for 3 days. You get him into Double A, for the most part, everybody there has a shot of making the bigs. Not saying they will, but they have a shot of making the bigs. It's a more consistent challenge for a guy with the talent level of an Ethan Salas. So that's why he got promoted to Double A, despite what appear to be pedestrian numbers in high A in the 9 games he spent there. Now, the Padres got busy, moved some other guys around. Dylan Lesko, the righty, went to high A. Robby Snelling went to Double A. So you'll remember Lesko was drafted with needing Tommy John, and he's been rehabbing. He debuted in the complex in June. He moved to A-ball in mid-July, and now at mid to late July, and now mid to late August, he's moving to high A in A-ball. 0-3 with a 4.5 ERA. Part of that's because he wasn't in the game long enough to get wins. He could just get losses. But he pitched 16 innings, 23 strikeouts to 8 walks. And his pitch count was kept pretty low in a lot of those. He was hanging around the 40s. His last start, his pitch count got up into the 70s. They're letting him eat a little bit more here as he's coming back from Tommy John. But high A feels like a good place to have him finish the season. And then you can turn around and put him in high A to open next year, with the idea of high A Double A is the plan. And if he does really well, maybe he ends up doing high A Double A to Triple A next year. But you don't want to be aggressive with this. This is just a get you back into a rhythm and find an appropriate level developmentally for where you are. Robby Snelling moving to Double A, another scenario where they're trying to find the appropriate level for him. He's 19 years old, but 18 starts between Single A and High A. 9-3, 1.88 ERA, and 86 in the third innings for Robby Snelling. 99 strikeouts, so 10.3 per 9, to 24 walks, 2.5 per 9, 3 home runs allowed. Fantastic velocity for a lefty. Fastball can touch 97 or so. And it's something where very physical player. He's listed like 6'3", 210. Used to played football back in high school. And so the velocity's there, right? And he has, to go along with that fastball, which is at least a plus pitch, he has a changeup he throws in the low 80s. But then his other main weapon is, I'm going to call it a curveball. I've seen it listed. I've seen people talk about like it's a spike curveball, whatever. But the whole idea here is it is a breaking pitch, and he can manipulate the shape of it. So rather than trying to get, say, a sweeper and then also throwing like a two-plane break curveball that darts down and away, stuff like that, he has this one pitch that he can just manipulate to do either one, right? So he can throw it in mid-70s. He can run it up to the mid-80s. It can move almost entirely laterally, like horizontally. It can dart down and away to a righty. A lot of manipulation to that, but he can land it where he wants to pretty well. And the walk numbers, 2.5 walks per 9 innings. Robby Snelling's it's very impressive how he can command that pitch despite manipulating the shape and the break and what it does. Not something a lot of guys can do. The delivery's very smooth. His arm action's very smooth. Really, the athleticism that he obviously has is definitely an asset there. And so he's very advanced for a 19-year-old and somebody that I wouldn't be surprised if this time next year he's in AAA and they're talking about, do we call him up down the stretch, maybe put him in the bullpen or something like that. That's just how good of a pitcher Robby Snelling is. A great pick. He was 2022 competitive balance round A. So I think 39th overall, something like that by the Padres. Great pick. In just a minute, let's update the Rookie of the Year race and talk about why some pitchers might have a bone to pick with MLB. We'll do that next right here on Locked on MLB Prospects. If I'm a rookie pitcher, I have an issue with MLB because it has become not entirely, but almost impossible for a pitcher to win Rookie of the Year. Last year, Spencer Strider has an amazing year. He's number 2 to Michael Harris. This year, your favorites in both leagues are position players. Corbin Carroll, minus 2,000 in the National League. We've seen what Corbin Carroll's done. That's fine. I'm not arguing Corbin Carroll. He deserves the Rookie of the Year. Behind him, Matt McLain, plus 1,600. I honestly did not have Matt McLain in my Rookie of the Year draft, so I lost out on that one. We'll update that once we get closer to the end of the season so you can see who we did and did not pick to win Rookie of the Year. And if I get a chance, I'll throw it up here in the corner on YouTube so you can click on it and watch it. And then Kodai Senga of the Mets is third at plus 3,500. It is Corbin Carroll's award to win, but you could make an argument that these pitchers, because they're almost never going to win this, let's give them their own award. Because there's been some really good rookie pitchers in the National League. Senga, like I said, 10-6, 3.19 ERA in 23 starts. He's striking out 10.7 batters per 9 innings. He had some walk issues early in the year, but he's been really good recently and gives them a stud in that rotation as they rebuild and then work their way back to competitiveness. Bobby Miller for the Dodgers, 7-2, 3.7 ERA in 14 games. Andrew Abbott of the Reds. The Reds just keep having rookies that have done great. 8-3, 2.99 ERA in 14 games, striking out 9.7 guys per 9 innings. In that ballpark, he has an ERA under 3. They deserve their own award. And it's kind of similar in the American League. Your favorites over there, it's a closer race in the American League. Josh Young's injury really hurt him. He fell down to plus 4,500 after he had that broken bone. But Gunnar Henderson of the Orioles is the favorite, minus 300. Masataka Yoshida at plus 550 for the Red Sox, the left fielder. And then Tristan Casas, plus 750 for the Red Sox, the first baseman. But there's been some really good pitchers in the American League as well. Tanner Bibby for the Guardians, 9-3, 3.01 ERA in 20 games started. He's been one of the better pitchers for Cleveland. JP France of the Astros, totally the Astros pitcher we thought was going to be in this, I know. 9-4, 2.75 ERA in 17 starts. He's pitched in 18 total games. They used him in relief once before they said, yeah, no, you should just be a starter. And he's been great. Bryce Miller, 8-4, 3.78 ERA in 18 games. So what I think they should do, and I've heard this a couple other places, this is not an original idea. Other people have said this exact same thing, but make a Rookie of the Year award for pitchers, right? Just go ahead and say Rookie of the Year is a position player award. We're going to make a separate award for pitchers, and we can call it the Fernando Valenzuela Award. Because in 1981, at age 20, Fernando Valenzuela debuted for the Dodgers. He technically debuted in 80, but he kept rookie eligibility. So 1981, he started 25 games. Listen to this ridiculous year that it's probably the best rookie season of all time for a pitcher. In 25 games, 13-7 with a 2.48 ERA and 192 1/3 innings. He threw 11 complete games. He threw 8 shutouts of his 25 starts to win the Cy Young. He won Rookie of the Year. He was an All-Star, and he was a Silver Slugger because he batted .250. It's the greatest pitcher debut season of all time, and it would be very fitting to name a Pitcher of the Year award or a Rookie Pitcher of the Year award for Fernando Valenzuela. MLB needs to get better about honoring some of these former players by naming awards after them. It feels like all of MLB's awards are just called things like Player of the Week, Comeback Player of the Year. Name it after someone. Bring up the history. Celebrate the game. You have 100+ years of history. Use it. Celebrate it. Like we have the Cy Young. It's named after a guy. Why don't we do the same thing with pitcher of the year, rookie pitcher of the year. Name it after Fernando Valenzuela, because it would be a great way both to honor him, but also to recognize these pitchers, because they do deserve separate recognition, because it is so hard for a pitcher, a rookie pitcher, to win rookie of the year, because unless they're a reliever, they're pitching one every 5 days, and a lot of them, it feels, don't get up when the season starts, right? Fantastic week this week. We've got some more of our farm system rankings coming out this week. The Mariners are on deck. The Braves are on deck. Haven't figured out that third one. I think it's going to be the Cubs. We'll see which list I get done first. If you want exclusive access to those, as well as priority for the mailbags and everything else, join our subtext. Links in the episode description, links in the show notes. Until tomorrow's show, remember, it's always a great time to pay a minor league.